Hi folks, Vipin here, and I wanted to tell you about the short-run equilibrium of monopoly when it comes to total cost, total revenue, marginal cost and marginal revenue approach. Now in that graph you can see two dots being represented. The red dot refers to total cost and the blue dot refers to total revenue. Now for any business to make profits, it is obvious that the total revenue must be greater than the total cost. Now, for a company to achieve equilibrium, it means that that is the point for a business where they're able to make the maximum amount of profit or revenue, but they're spending the least amount of money. In other words, their cost is at the lowest and their revenue or their profit is at the highest. That's the easiest way to remember equilibrium. But in order to achieve that equilibrium, it's not so easy. How does the company find out which is the best point for them to make sure their cost is at the lowest and their profit is at the highest? So what the company has to do is pretty much trial and error. Now, when the business starts off, they're able to sell Q1 units. That is something that you're able to see in the bottom left-hand corner. And there you can see that their total revenue is much lower than the cost that they're incurring. Why is it so low? Because they're just starting off, they're spending a lot of money in telling people, telling customers that, look, this is what we are, and please buy our product. So they're spending a lot of money in marketing efforts, research and development. All this, they're incurring a lot of cost, and therefore, when they're selling Q1 units, the money that they're making is actually a loss. Next, what happens is you have the company selling more units. They've become well established, and because they're well established, their efforts in marketing, all that reduces. So the amount of money they're making would be more. That is, they're spending less and they're able to sell more. So that's where they're able to come across the second point there, which is represented as Q. And that's where their profit is at the highest, and that's where they're able to achieve equilibrium. But remember, the company doesn't know that this is the best possible place for them to sell their products, and what they actually want to do is they want to make more profits, and that's when they try to sell Q2 units. Now what happens when they try to sell Q2 units? They incur a loss. Why is it that they incur a loss? Maybe because they're trying to enter into a market where their product cannot be sold, or they're trying to get into a market where there is too much competition already, and that's when you can come across the total cost there increases and the total revenue there actually drops. Now here, the point of equilibrium for them is B, D, and E. And that is the place where they're able to make sure that they're able to get the highest amount of profit and the least amount of expense. Marginal revenue approach and marginal cost approach is very similar to the previous one. What is actually different here is rather than total cost and total revenue, we look at what happens to a business when it tries to sell one additional unit. Okay, now here you can see on that graph that marginal cost is represented on a blue dot, and marginal revenue is represented in a purple dot. Now here you can see that marginal cost is seeing a sharp increase while marginal revenue is seeing a sharp decrease. So what's happening here? The company tries to sell more units, but unfortunately when they want to sell more, they're going to incur more expenses. Think of it like this. If you're a person who has a restaurant in South Bangalore and you want to make sure you have another branch in North Bangalore, now in order to establish another restaurant in North Bangalore, you would incur additional cost. Your objective is, let me sell it to one more customer in North Bangalore. In other words, marginal cost or marginal utility, all this comes in there. You want to sell more, and unfortunately, if you want to sell more, you would incur more expenses. That's where you can see the marginal cost is actually shooting up, but marginal revenue actually dips down. In order to sell more, you will be spending more, but unfortunately, the amount of recovery you will come across here through sales will not be so great. So the point of equilibrium for a company is to make sure that marginal cost is as less as possible compared to marginal revenue. So this is in fact the two different approaches for short-run equilibrium of monopoly. Any queries you have, please leave them in the comment section below and I will get back to you at the earliest. Anyway guys, thank you for your time. Please subscribe to my videos and have a nice day.